Okay, so I received a request this morning from somebody to talk about interfaith harmony, because there's been so much in the press that has been this horrible anti-Muslim sentiment and this big ruckus about building a Muslim community center near Ground Zero, and about this Christian minister who wants to burn all these Qurans on September 11th. And it's been very, very disturbing. And yesterday I was very happy to read that some of the chief religious people had an emergency meeting. I think it was in New York. It might have been in D.C. No, I think it was New York. And, you know, they completely were against this kind of anti-Muslim rhetoric that's going on in the country. I was very happy to hear that they spoke up about this. But this kind of talk and this kind of fear-mongering that people are doing is so dangerous for peace in one's own heart and for peace amongst human beings. And it's something that Buddhism is very, very clear on, and His Holiness speaks on so much and so often. He has a new book out. Actually, it's called, what is it, The Kindred... I saw a copy on somebody's desk. So something Kindred of Religions or something. We'll have to get the title, but it's new by His Holiness. But he speaks so much about the fact that each person has to find a spiritual path that is most conducive for him or her, and that what is good for one person is not necessarily good for another person. And even when people, you know, get excited about Buddhism and want to become Buddhists, he always says, you know, try your own religion first and see if that works for you. And if it does, stay with it. And if it doesn't, then sure, you know, you're welcome to become a Buddhist. And so the point is really to see that all religions have something in them that is conducive for human beings. And they're all based on ethical conduct, you know, not killing, not stealing, things like this. They're all based on having love and compassion and forgiveness. You know, the historical times the books were written in were different. The cultures they were written in were different. But so much of just the basic teachings of how to live a good human life and how to get along with people are, you know, so much the same in every religion. So much so that in Buddhism, if we criticize another religious teachings, it's as if we were criticizing the Buddha's teachings when we're dealing with this level of commonality of the teachings. And so and then of course there's theological differences. We can't say all the religions are the same. There's theological differences, but that's okay, because some of the theological reasons, let's say, for cultivating love and compassion or ethical discipline, the reasons that are put forth in some religions make sense to some people and not others, and the reasons put forth in other religions make sense to a different group of people, but not to this group of people. But the fact that the basic teachings on how to live and be a kind human being and create a peaceful society are the same. So the theological differences are actually inconsequential, because they're trying to get you to the practice level of being a good person. Okay, so we don't get hung up on theological differences. We can debate. Even Buddhists debate amongst themselves, you know. But the purpose of debate is to increase our own understanding. But, you know, criticizing another faith and criticizing the followers of that faith is so against the teachings of love and compassion that are the foundation of all the world's religions, you know. So I think if, you know, here, if I were to talk to Jews and Christians and Muslims and Zoroastrians and Wiccans and everybody else, you know, to say that if, you know, that if we really follow our own spiritual tradition well and understand it properly, then we have to respect other spiritual traditions. Because if you see, let's say from a theistic viewpoint, that all human beings are created in God's image, okay, then from that, you know, the theistic viewpoint, then you still have to respect all those human beings as if they were God or related to God. Otherwise, that would be going against the, you know, basic teachings you follow as a Jew or Christian or as Muslim. You know, in Buddhism, we say it in different language. You know, everybody has the Buddha nature, or everybody wants to be happy and not suffer. You know, it comes in different words. But the point is that to understand the teachings of our own religion well involves respecting all different faiths and all different people. You know? And I think especially in our country this is so important, and it really saddens me to see people saying that in the name of the values that America stands for, we have to get rid of Muslims. That's completely contradictory, you know, because our country was founded on the values of, you know, religious tolerance, you know, and tolerance of different political views, of free speech, free gathering, all these kinds of things. How can you take a viewpoint that supports the Constitution and at the same time targets another religion and does what I consider hate crimes against that religion? You know, to me, that is not living according to our Constitution, which we say is what we cherish. Okay? So I think we have to really think deeply about these things, and we have to speak out in our own communities to counter this kind of hatred and just general fear-mongering that has absolutely no purpose except to make yourself famous. Yeah? And stir other people up. It's so harmful.